Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building.
Yup.
2020 Republican presidential candidate James Peppe.
Thank you. Thanks
Welcome.
for having me. It's awesome.
Good morning. Now, how does that work?
Appreciate it.
Because, Donald Trump is in the White House. He has all the Republican backing. How can somebody challenge him?
Well, there's a lot of Republicans that aren't thrilled with the president. They're maybe happy that things are okay with the economy and kind of, okay with it. But nobody really likes the way the way this guy acts.
Why do they? Yeah, I always hope that, but why do they act like they do? Like they're like he has the full backing of the Republican Party.
Well, the parties both have gone to the extremes. The Republicans are way off the edge of their flat earth with Trump. The Democrats are pushing way far to the left as well. So a lot of those Republicans sort of in the middle, the kind of guys that I like, they just think that it could be worse, I guess. The economy's not too bad. So they just kind of tolerate him, and wait for him to go away.
But what don't you like about Trump?
Well, I don't like that. I don't like his dishonesty. I really don't. I mean, we deserve better from the president, and every time he opens his mouth, he embarrasses me. And again, as Americans, we shouldn't be embarrassed by when our president talks. Some of his ideas are okay, but I don't trust him at all.
Now, what about building the wall?
No.
Okay.
Man, no. We do, infrastructure and border security and all that's all good and well, but we need to send a message that immigration is important to our country. And sure, we got to control the flow of people in and out of our country and goods and services, all that stuff, of course. But he sends this signal that's really hateful and is just contrary to what America's all about.
I read you're from a family of immigrants, right?
I am. My grandparents came here and settled in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Over 100 years ago. As kids, they were dreamers before dreamers were cool, right?
From where?
From Italy.
Okay.
From Italy. And my dad was born here in New York, and then eventually we settled in Minnesota, where I was born. So I'm a big fan of immigrants. I think everybody ought to want to have this to be that kind of country with that kind of diversity. And of course, we have challenges. And of course, we have to do some stuff to make sure that that people kind of follow some simple rules. But he just sends all the wrong signals, all the wrong messages.
A lot of people feel like Republicans are based, or I should say, don't really care about the average person. They care more about big business and bringing big business to the U.S. and don't necessarily care about the person that's out there struggling, working a 9 to 5, just trying to pay their mortgage or their rent, or trying to get health care or trying to get their kids through school.
Yeah, I hate to admit it, but there's a lot of that. And that's one of the reasons why I'm disgusted with the party, and I want to change it back to what it's supposed to be. Hey, it's all good to want to stimulate the economy and make sure we all have jobs and everything. That's great. We need to do that. But I think we have lost sight of some of the things that really matter about people. And I think, frankly, to your point, the Democrats, I think, have begun to take for granted working guys, working people of all different areas and whatnot. And I'd like to get the Republican Party back to that kind of party that really cares about people and sometimes, let's not principle, but philosophy kind of move to the side and deal with the reality of what's going on in the world and helping people.
Due to the current administration, what are the biggest misconceptions about Republicans right now?
Well, I think that it's about Republicans and Democrats. It's all or nothing kind of thing. And I think most of the regular Americans who are Republicans that I know are pretty level-headed and common sense-wise. For example, I don't know anybody who doesn't think climate change is real. Maybe that's just not the circle I run in. But climate change is real. It's just, to what extreme do we deal with it? We need to be a leader in green technology, new technology to kind of move in the direction of getting rid of fossil fuels and all that sort of thing. People just don't want to see us, snap our fingers and destroy our economy overnight. So most people are pretty reasonable about that. Most Republicans that I know think we have a problem with health care. We do. We need to fix that. Most people I know acknowledge readily that we have a race problem in this country. We can't have our heads in the sand about that. But the media likes to portray this really extreme kind of division. And that's because the extremists on both sides control the debate. And that's one of the things I want to kind of change.
Do you have plans for this stuff? Because, you're talking good. It's like a car salesperson. Yeah, it's a great car, but do you have plans for...
Never sold a car.
Do you have plans for fixing the race relations and plans?
Do you have an agenda for the black community?
Yeah, well, I think I do. I mean, again,
Talk to me. We're black. We can tell you if it's something we want.
Right. Well, I think for all of us and anybody who's struggling to sort of keep up in our economy, it starts with education. So I want to see a lot more ability for people to go to school, educational tax credits, or whatever it takes to get people the opportunity that maybe they've been denied or haven't had a chance before. So that's a big part of it. But really, the job of the president, on military affairs and foreign affairs, he's the commander in chief, right? Mm-hmm. On domestic affairs, like the issues we're talking about, he's the advocate in chief. He needs to be out talking to people and bringing people together. And that might sound flowery and everything, but that's his job. Trump's out dividing people. I tell people when Trump goes to arenas of 20,000 people and they're all screaming worshipers, because that's what he wants. He wants the adoration and, look at me kind of thing. I want to go to the same kind of buildings with a bunch of people who disagree with me. I want to hear the dissenting voices. I think that's what makes America great. And beginning to kind of bridge that divide between us. So I just think it's a lot about that kind of leadership. And then when that starts to move the needle, Congress has to follow. And Congress is actually not bad at following, but we haven't had a leader to kind of move us in the right direction for a while.
Do you believe in reparations for African Americans?
I'm okay. I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with just kind of giving people cash. Let me tell you why. When politicians talk about giving you cash, and Yang's a guy who's talking about that, right?
Universal basic income.
Yeah, exactly. I get where it's coming from, but if a politician's offering you money, it ain't free. He wants your vote. They're buying votes. So I'm not good with that. I want to see us make a difference. Now, if you talk about reparations in terms of educational credits that let people get to school who otherwise wouldn't go, let's talk about that, and let's make sure it's helping the right people. So I'm open to that. I think that there's room for us to find common ground among all of us where that would work. Again, I just am not a fan of giving people cash because, to me, you're never going to get it, first of all. They'll tell you they're going to give you cash. They're never going to give you cash.
Yeah, right? I wonder what the reparations would look like in this era.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they're going to do cash payouts to anybody either. But I do think that America should acknowledge the great sin of slavery and segregation.
I agree.
And then, since they systemically put us in certain positions, do something to systemically get us out.
I agree 100%. And I think, again, a lot of the people I talk to, Republicans and otherwise, feel the same way. So I think you're on it, and I'm open to that. I just think it's like everything else, the devil's in the details. And I'm not trying to flake on it. It's just that, like I said, in my mind, I think education is the thing that pulls people out of disadvantage in our society, in every society. So let's find something that we can all agree on that will actually help make a difference and move our country forward.
I wonder about education, though, because if you look at the richest people in the world, they didn't even go to college.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if it's education.
Well, and I think those guys are the exception. I really do. You guys talk a lot about the HBCUs and that sort of thing, right? And I'm a big fan of those, and I think that we can encourage those in conjunction with maybe some educational reparations and that sort of thing. So again, it's not 100%, but also I'm a big fan of trade schools and on-the-job learning type of opportunities and things like that.
I think STEM programs in the hood are great.
Yeah, I just don't like a one-size-fits-all approach. Let's make opportunities that make sense to people where they live.
Mm-hmm. Do you believe in free education, allowing students to go to school for free?
I'm extremely open to it, especially with regard to state institutions that are already taxpayer subsidized, right? Hey, if private schools want to compete on price and quality and whatever else, highfalutin, and people like what's her name can spend $1 million to get her kid into a school with a fake resume or whatever. Hey, more power to them, whatever. I don't care about that. But I think public education or public institutions that are taxpayer subsidized, I think that we should really look hard at that. Hey, how long have we done K through 12 free education? Now the United States has fallen behind. Who's to say that K through 16 isn't a good idea? We got to make. 16? Well, I'm just saying 4 years of college, right?
Oh, I was like,
4 years of college. 4 years of college.
No, my point is, what's so magical about K-12?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
We've had that for over 100 years because that's the way we lead the world in terms of brain power. But now we've fallen behind.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't we do that? Why don't our public schools send kids to school? Sorry, kids, but year-round. Why don't we do that?
I don't know if we need year-round, but I do agree with we need more trades. Like, we got to teach kids
I'm big in that.
Skills. Like where the plumbers, you know what I'm saying?
Dude, I used to work for the National Association of Manufacturers, and I got a chance to tour manufacturing facilities all over the country, small mom-and-pop shops, big ones. And it's fascinating what they do and how millions of people feed their families from manufacturing the things that we take for granted. And they can't find enough young people skilled to work in those positions, and they're good jobs.
Absolutely.
So we can do a lot more, and that's a shout out to my friends at the NAM, at the National Association of Manufacturers, because they do great stuff, and we need to kind of give a boost to manufacturing.
Electricians, plumbers, people who install air conditioners, like they always got work.
Oh yeah. No, I love it. And again, that's one of the areas where I think Republicans maybe have lost or taken our eye off the prize a little bit, because those people make this country work. So I'd like to see us give them a shot in the arm.
And what's your stance on marijuana?
I'm okay with it. You know how it used to be that if you were a politician and you had to admit that you tried, or somebody asked you that and you denied it. Bill Clinton, I tried it, but I didn't inhale and all that. And that was a bad thing for you as a politician. Now it's the opposite. If I don't admit that I used it, I look pretty bad. But the truth is, it's never been my thing.
Have you used it before?
No, I haven't. Alcohol.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not a big drinker, but I like to drink socially. But I really haven't. It's just not my thing. I'm just not into drugs, But I think that ship has sailed, and I think we got much bigger things to worry about. So I'm okay with the whole legalization thing, and I think the states are doing what they should do.
You a beer guy, liquor guy, whiskey?
I'm a vodka tonic guy.
Vodka tonic.
Tito's from Austin, Texas, baby.
Okay. Yeah, Tito's blew up quick.
Didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. God bless Texas.
Do you agree with any of Trump's policies?
I believe with some of the ideas. Again, I don't think many of us argue that we should secure the border. But there's a lot I don't agree with, and again, how he goes about it is really the worst thing. But the way he treats our allies overseas, the way he kind of cozies up to dictators and Putin and those kinds of guys, I don't like. Again, I just don't like him taking a bad situation where the country's divided and making it even worse.
Mm-hmm.
We need just the opposite right now.
You think he did some funny business with Russia?
I think they tried to. I think they tried to figure out wherever they could get an advantage. And I also think it was really about him trying to take advantage of the moment and leverage that into business deals for himself. I think that's what he was really setting up, because I don't think he expected to win, right? And then I think his real crime, if there was a crime, and I don't mean that in a legal sense, I just think that it was afterwards trying to kind of block that investigation, because guys like Trump, they don't like investigators and cops messing around in their business. And I think he was afraid that other things were going to turn up. And when the Mueller report comes out, hopefully, we'll see.
You say guys like Trump, guys like me. I don't want cops just snooping around. What you
right? Nobody does. No, really. People don't like cops digging into your business, because who knows what they're going to find that was never intentional or whatever, but looks like whatever, embarrassing or whatnot.
Isn't it weird that we haven't seen his taxes and they claim that he's never paid taxes?
Yeah.
He hasn't paid taxes in years, allegedly, because he finds all these ways to beat the system pretty much.
Right.
And he makes millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, and he doesn't pay taxes.
So what do you think it is? Why do you think he's not showing them?
Because he probably doesn't pay him.
I think that's part of it, but I think he's not worth as much as he says he is. I think to him that's kind of an embarrassment that he'd have to show that to the public. And I think there's also a lot of shenanigans there. I think he probably doesn't give as much to charity as he pretends to give. So I think there's a lot of embarrassment in there. If there's criminal stuff about his taxes, the IRS, well, I don't know now that he's president. Maybe he will get away with it. I don't know. But I just have a feeling he's just not worth nearly as much as he says he is. Because you guaranteed with a guy like Trump, however much he says he's worth, it ain't that much. It's inflated.
How much money do you have raised so far?
Oh, not a lot. We're into the tens of thousands. I'm spending money out of my own pocket, but that's the nature of our grassroots campaign. And we're looking for kind of a gradual momentum gaining and tipping points, we call it, where frankly, opportunities like this, and I really appreciate you guys letting me on, will appeal to people who want a regular guy to be president for a change, because we need somebody who can better relate to regular folks. And
Trump has 30 million already.
Yeah, I know he does. But Trump proved last time that the guy with the most money doesn't automatically win. He had a lot less than Hillary. Social media and the internet change all of that, and the nature of campaigning up in New Hampshire. We just came from a good week of campaigning, kind of grassroots style, up Main Street and all over college campuses, and got really good reception. The world's changing, and we think that people want that kind of representation. They're tired of the professional politicians. They're tired of the rich billionaires who can't possibly know how they live every day. It's just we just think it's the right time, and it's just going to take some work, and that's the way it works. That's the way it goes.
What is your common sense campaign?
Well, common sense, I think, is that for all these big issues that divide us, in reality, most Americans are kind of somewhere in the middle on common sense ground, right? Mm-hmm. Like I said, with energy, in the environment, climate change, most Americans acknowledge that it's real. Mm-hmm. Most Americans would like to see us do something to protect the environment. I have a niece, one of my favorite nieces out of like 60 of them, Ashley Alvarez Peppe, or Peppe Alvarez, is a passionate defender of the environment, as she should be, as a lot of young people are and should be. Most people understand that there's a real problem going on. It's just we need to start from that common ground and move outward to practical solutions that get us moving in the right direction, like being the world leader in green technology, for example. And the same thing again. Hey, we need to help people who need help with healthcare. We need to help them. Do we need to blow up the system to help them? Mm-hmm. Probably not. But let's move in the right direction, because so far it's been all or nothing.
Do you have plans for all of these things? Because, I mean, you're saying do you have plans for helping people with healthcare and helping people with education?
You bet.
Marijuana plan. You bet. Do you have those plans in place?
I'll give you an example,
Please.
Right, in healthcare. I think that how is healthcare for people who can't afford it? How is it different than for people who can't afford food? Hard to live without either one, right? But with people who can't afford food, we get food stamps, government assistance. I grew up, my family got it. You help people. The hard part is figuring out who really needs help and how long and all that sort of thing.
You need health insurance stamps?
Well, how about just, an expansion of Medicare that says that people who can't afford it by a reasonable means test can get treated at certain places, like where Medicare provides health care. Mm-hmm. Why not? I mean, why would we not do that? Why do we have to change it? The vast majority of people have health insurance, and there's still other problems, cost and so forth. But for those who can't help, I mean, why is that so complicated?
Yeah, I feel like all medical needs should be a public service. You know what I'm saying?
Hey.
Like, it should just be a free resource to all Americans, and America takes care of the doctors and the people in the medical field.
Well, the only problem I have with that is that the marketplace does drive innovation in new technology, new procedures, new medicines, all that sort of thing. And I would be really reluctant to kind of throw that out, because government isn't very innovative about anything. Mm-hmm. So, and that's why some of the countries that do have socialized medicine, it's fine if that's what you're used to, but they don't really innovate. They don't really lead the healthcare marketplace the way we do because of the profit incentive. It's kind of a give and take, because, again, it leads to higher prices, and we've got to keep working through that.
You get a profit incentive, but it's such a lack of empathy. Like, how you going to turn somebody away because they need a kidney or they need a heart? You know what I mean?
And they don't have health insurance,
No. And again, I think in the margins with cases like that, because I think that's not the main part of what most people deal with in medicine every day, but we do need to figure those things out and have some more compassion for people who need that kind of help. And I just don't think it's all that complicated, but you got to start with where we agree. Let's help people.
Do you have a diverse campaign manager or a diverse crew with you?
Look, what I've got so far is a small group of volunteers that are mostly friends and family, and it's got diversity built into it, from minorities, of people of color and sexual orientation and all that kind of thing. Because my group, I come from a big family and kind of a neat circle of friends, and it's a very diverse group of people. Yeah.
You refer to your supporters as regular Americans. How do you define a regular American?
I really appreciate you asking, because obviously none of us are all alike, right? But I just think that those of us who kind of live the same way most days, dealing with the same kinds of struggles, right? If you haven't known what it means to worry about whether you're going to lose your job and lose your health care, or can you live beyond one or two paychecks, and a lot of people have trouble with daycare and of course their health care and all of that sort of thing. I just think that's normal life for most of us. Doesn't matter what color you are or what ethnicity you are. I think that's just most of us. And the president, and this is one of the areas I don't even really criticize him, because it's not his fault he was born rich. It's not a fault at all. I wish I had been born rich, dang my parents. But in his whole life, he's never spent 1 second knowing what real life for most of us is like. How can he possibly understand, kind of what we want, what we need, and what's good for us, right? And truthfully, the same thing with professional politicians. They may have come from a background, but all they're doing is climbing ladders and trading favors. So we need somebody who can better relate directly to regular folks and who can relate back. And I have no hidden agenda. I want to help the country, and then go and coach high school football and teach some high school government, to kids who could use some help in public schools or something like that.
What were you doing before you decided to run?
I'm a financial advisor who helps people plan for retirement through 401k investments and things like that. It's pretty vanilla stuff, but it's important, obviously. And I work with a lot of blue collar companies and employees who are working really hard, again, to put some money away for retirement, unlike other people who can't relate to that.
Right. What made you become a Republican?
Lifelong Republican. My dad and a really influential high school teacher helped me figure that out a long time ago, which is an interesting misconception, again, about a lot of people. They just told me that Republicans were people who thought that individuals and local communities can solve problems generally better than a bureaucracy can if they're given the chance, and that we should only really kind of go to government to solve our problems as a last resort. Try to solve them ourselves locally and whatnot, and then when that doesn't work, or when it's obvious that government needs to step in, then fine, there's a role for government. They told me that Democrats tend to kind of move towards a government solution much quicker. They like the power of government and so forth, and they believe in the good that it can do. And I've always thought the answer was kind of somewhere in the middle of all of that, So I'm not against government. I'm not a libertarian per se, although I have some tendencies because, I think even when people are well-intended, bureaucracies can have unintended consequences. So I just kind of lean on the side of giving people freedom, letting them live the way they want to live if we can.
Now your slogan is "One of us for all of us."
Yeah.
So how do you intend to please all of us? It's a big task.
Yeah, let's not get too literal.
Yeah.
Right. But again, it's about finally rejecting the extremes that control the political discussion in our country, because they have for a long time, and we've let them. And I think the establishment, by the way, encourages that because they make a lot of money off the fight. Mm-hmm. So I think as if the regular Americans, like the ones I'm talking about, were to rise up a little bit, and I think we're getting there, push the extremes back to the fringes where they belong, and take control of the public dialogue, I think you see a whole different tone and tenor to our country that's more civil and that moves the needle forward on some of the issues that we're talking about. Hey, nothing's going to happen overnight, but we just need to get this country moving again in the right direction.
Your guiding ideology is freedom, giving everyone the best opportunity to live and pursue happiness however they want. Live and let live.
Yeah.
Do you think your beliefs and plans will be supported by Republican voters?
I really believe it will. Again, of the Republican base, Trump has a solid 35%, and the rest of them, if they say they're okay again, it's because the economy's generally all right, right? But people want something different, and I really believe that's the true silent majority in our country. That's the true silent majority that unfortunately has been convinced and conditioned for too long that they don't have any power and they can't do anything about it. And I think that the internet, for one thing, and the sort of modern media, new media, tells us that you can. In fact, Trump's own win last time tells us that people who should have no business winning can win, and regular Americans have all the power. And we just need to decide that we're ready to use it. I think we're getting close, and I hope this is the year. Next year,
Now you had a problem with my guy Mayor Pete too, man. You didn't like him saying all lives matter?
Oh no! I understand why the all lives matter thing, in the context in which it was said sometimes that it bothered people. I'm not so PC that I think we should apologize for every slip of the tongue or this or that or the other.
I
thing.
agree.
You can say, hey, that's not what I meant. Of course, Black Lives Matter, and I support the sort of the passion and the mission behind that slogan, if you will, that phrase. But it's also important as we look to bridge that gap and bring Americans back together that we go beyond that eventually and say, what's the next thing? Where do we go beyond that? So I can kind of see both sides, and like I said, I'm a little kind of, we apologize too much. We're a little bit too sensitive in this country. I grew up in a big family. You couldn't be that sensitive. You just got to kind of let it roll off your back a little bit. I think Americans need to toughen up a little bit in general.
I agree. My final question, is it possible for you to even have a chance against Trump?
Yeah, it really is. Again, my campaign about tipping points is all about people believing that we can actually win, because I think when people understand what we're about, and thanks to you guys, a lot of folks are going to hear about it today, and then realize that there really is a chance, I think you'll see a tipping point. And honestly, we're going to win, and we're going to win in a landslide. Because people want this. It has nothing to do with me, and I know that sounds political, right? But it's really about the idea I represent. People have wanted this for a long time. They just haven't believed it was possible, so they don't invest themselves emotionally or financially. But as soon as they start to believe that we can do this, and I think the environment's right, then the tipping point happens. I think you'll see a real avalanche of support our way. It's going to take a while. We got a lot of hard work in front of us, but that's okay.
If you could say one thing to Trump, if you and Trump will man-to-man, face-to-face, what would you say to Trump?
Come and debate me and don't be chicken. You know, he thinks he's tough. He goes around talking tough. And I got to tell you something. I've promised people that I'm going to bring dignity and honesty back to the Oval Office, right? And I mean that. As president, you're going to see a very different kind of leader from me. But I'm not going to promise you in the campaign that I won't talk tough with him because I've always thought and always been taught that you stand up to a bully and you give them what they deserve, kind of thing. And this guy's the biggest bully there is. So he wants to talk about being a tough guy and being a counterpuncher and this and that and the other thing. Well, I'm not going to give him a chance to counterpunch. I'm going to knock his ass out.
Wow.
And they call me the new Italian stallion, you know.
Okay.
So I'm being a little bit facetious, but debate me. If he's not chicken, debate me. You know, and he's going to say something about I'm not worth it or you know, why waste his time? But that's just him being chicken. And by the way, I've made the same challenge to Democrats. I think at this moment in time when we're trying to bring the country back together, how cool would it be if some of the Democrats would join me right now in really kind of informal, they call them Lincoln Douglas style debates without moderators at college campuses, where people like Mayor Pete or the guy from my state, Beto O'Rourke, or any of them would get up on a stage with me and show Americans that we can rise above partisan politics and do what's best for the country, starting with our civil tone and the way we debate and try to find common ground on issues. Let's do that. Let's show people that we're serious for once. But they won't do it because they're just playing the same political game on the other side. And Trump's just chicken. So yeah, I'd say, hey, Mr. President, debate me. Let's see how good a counterpuncher you really are when you're lying on your back.
How do you feel about Beto O'Rourke, especially coming from Texas? Seems like a lot of hype to me.
I think so, maybe. I have mixed feelings. Let me just say about the Democrats, I'm not a fan politically. We had different points of view, right, generally. But they all seem like fairly decent people as far as I can tell. I've only known one of them personally, and she was great. I think she's terrific. Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota, where I'm from. We used to work together a long time ago. She's a solid person, I think. I think they all mean well. I just think that, again, their party is tripping over each other to get further and further left. I just think it's out of the American mainstream. They seem like decent people. I just, Beto, I don't know what to make. I think it's a bit of an image thing. Ironically, a little bit like Trump, kind of in a different way. But hey, he's connecting with young people and some other folks, and good for him. I just hope they're serious about wanting to make real change and not just use the campaign slogans.
Gotcha.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us.
Give me your websites and all that, man.
Yeah. I really could use the help. It's www.peppe2020.com. Peppe2020.com. Peppe2020.com, and go to our social media and help us out. We look, small contributions make a huge difference. Basically, all I need is food and gas money to campaign in New Hampshire. Yeah, I should hold the sign right under over the overpass. We'll be president for food money.
There you go.
But no, really, it's really that simple. Small contributions can make a difference, and we're going to win.
Okay. All right. Well, there you have it. 2020 Republican presidential candidate James Peppe. Thank you for joining us.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. It's been awesome. I appreciate it.
All right. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.